Hi again, me with another video blog. Today I want to talk about the subject of how to build a list because it's a very critical topic for anybody who's involved in online marketing. Many times when I've been talking, informally or formally about this subject, people might say to me and do say to me in response to the fact that maybe I've been successful at doing something, they'll say, "I know, but you have a list. This is the reason you have a list." And the implication, in a way, is sort of like saying they believe I'm lucky to have a list. I'm lucky to have a list. This is why, which explains, the fact I was able to make so many dollars in 24 hours or whatever. Um, the thing about this, of course, is it comes back to the question: is how do you get a list? I don't get a list given to me. I had to build that list over time. And the way that I've learned to build a list, and I think the way that anybody online builds a list, is that you have to offer something of perceived value to a particular market niche in exchange for that person's name and email address. In other words, you need to offer something. It could be anything. It could be a report. It could be a video. It could be a recipe. It could be a formula of some sort. It could be an insight. But it has to be perceived as being worthwhile enough for someone to want to give you their email address in exchange for it. And so you add that person to your mailing list. But the trouble is, of course, when you first start out, it's very quickly realized that you don't have a list, but in order to build a list, you have to be able to market. In other words, you actually have to find a way to bring people to the website where you are offering this free service or free product in exchange for people's email addresses. So from the very get-go, when you don't have any mailing list, you have to market in order to build that list. And this is something that, in my case, it took many years. I mean, I over time I built a list of over 30,000 subscribers, but it's slow. It's not fast. And sure enough, that list has got definite value to me now. And how did I do that exactly? Well, in my case, I wrote a report. One of my first elements of getting a list, I wrote a report on how to open an offshore bank account. This was a free report. I found that it was profitable for me to advertise this with pay-per-click advertising on Google AdWords. And that might sound a bit odd, I'm paying to give away something for free. But this banking report was in fact a pre-sell to my service, Sovereign Life. So a percentage of the people who downloaded it joined Sovereign Life, and that income or that generated income which justified the expense of giving away a report for free. And at the same time, I am building a list which includes all the people who didn't join Sovereign Life. More recently, I have continued to build a list with a series of reports or a series of information called the 7 Steps to Freedom. I don't do that through Google. I found it didn't work. So how do I get people to come to that website? Well, it comes back to, in the end, that you need to learn how to get a website visible on Google. So when people do a particular search, they find your page, they read what you have to say or watch what you have to say, respond to your offer, and give you the email address so that you can also then collect, build your list from that. So there's a time frame involved. Now, absolutely, you can do this quicker than I did because you can learn to do this. You can learn from people. You can, from an educational point of view, you can um, accelerate your learning. But there's no doubt about it. There is a learning curve. And if you're serious about being an online marketer, then you're simply going to have to start from scratch and realize that this is part of the process of becoming an online marketer. It's like doing an apprenticeship. You are going to build this list, and over time, that growing list will accelerate your success as an online marketer. But there's no way around it. You can't just say, well, um, you're lucky you've got a list, and then use that as an excuse that you can't ever succeed. If you want to succeed, you're going to have to come to grips with the fact that you do need a list and that you need to learn how to build a list. And there are many ways you can do this. There are ways you can learn, there are systems you can apply, but at the end of the day, building that list will take time, and that will increase your capacity to make money online as your list grows. That's about it really, but that's my little bit of advice for today. How to build a list, learn how to build a list, and then do it. Bye for now.